The Bible teaches that in the end days, an apostasy will sweep this earth, unlike anything ever seen before.
Well, you know what they say about the end, right? Alrighty, how's it going, everybody? Hope you all are having a wonderful day so far, but if not, maybe we'll be able to fix that with today's video. Before we get into things, though, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and hopefully you'll also hit the bell notification icon so that you'll know whenever new videos come out. As for fan art, first we have Yumi being thrown at me by the three-eyed cat, a dragon Suris by Talia, and a mermaid Suris by I Am Oddity. As always, thank you all for your fan art submissions, and let's get right into the video.
The Bible teaches that in the end days, an apostasy will sweep this earth, unlike anything ever seen before. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in these days now. There is a generation that will produce churches that are completely indistinguishable from the nightclubs and bars of the world, yet they still claim to be Christians.
The music, the lights, the crowds. It looks like a rock concert. And the lines around the block are enough to make any nightclub envious. But this is church.
So, are you upset that there's a style of church that appeals to the younger generation? Because that seems to basically be what you're saying. I don't want to begin this video with an OK Boomer meme, but that seems to be the logical rebuttal here. The end goal of Christianity is to get people to be Christians, get them to the point where they can ascend into heaven. And as long as you're winning souls, then ideally that should be perfectly fine within a Christian view. The fact that people are appealing to a different audience for Christianity than you would like them to seems to either mean that you're playing the crotchety old man in the situation, or you just don't understand basic marketing. Because at the end of the day, all evangelism is just marketing, but for religion.
There is a generation of Christians that are completely indistinguishable from the lost heathen world in their personal appearance, yet they still claim to be Christians.
I'm gonna walk down this runway. Bucket list.
He seems to revel in the spotlight, but Lentz would prefer you focus on his preaching rather than his wardrobe. He says he's been blocked from visiting inmates because prison staff thought he looked more like a criminal than a cleric.
So, again, because he's appealing to a different demographic than you think Christians should appeal to, and therefore is winning souls for people who otherwise wouldn't be Christian, that upsets you. His wardrobe upsets you. Please point to me in the Bible the verse that says that you must have a specific wardrobe in order to be a preacher. And when you fail, we'll talk.
There is a generation of Christians that simply cannot give a straight answer to even the most basic Bible question, yet they still claim to be Christians.
Do you believe that only Christians can be in relationship with God?
No, I believe that when Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life, in the way I read that, Jesus said he's the road marker, he's the map. So I think God loves people so much that whether they accept or reject him, he's still gracious and he's still moving.
But wait, he did give a straight answer to that. It was asked to him whether he thought that only Christians could have a relationship with God, and he answered no. That is a straight answer. It's not a satisfactory answer for you, but it most certainly is a straight answer. He believes that his interpretation of God is so all-loving that the mere fact that somebody doesn't believe in him shouldn't stop him from having a relationship with them, shouldn't stop him from trying to be a positive influence in their lives. There's nothing about that answer that wasn't straight and forwardly given. Are you just upset because he gave answers that you don't personally agree with? Because that's a different thing entirely.
There is a generation of Christians that when they worship, it sounds nothing short of utter confusion, yet they still claim to be Christians.
Okay, but she's clearly saying glory to God. You can actually read her lips and get that pretty easily. Moreover, have you ever actually been to a live band or a live concert of any kind? There are times where the sounds of the crowd drown out the words of the speakers, but it doesn't mean that the words of the speakers were unintelligible in their own. They were drowned out by outside sources. If somebody worships God by singing their praises to him, and they happen to be doing it in front of a large crowd of people, the likelihood of them being hard to understand rises significantly. Though based on the language that you're using, it sounds like you're trying to argue that this is some kind of personal short on their part.
There's a generation of Christians that actually cuss while they're worshiping God, and yet they still claim to be Christians.
Even when the fight seems lost, I'll praise you. Even when it hurts like hell, I'll praise you.
Please, show me on the doll where the dirty word hurt you. Look, just because she said the heck word live on stage, in the middle of a song, when hell is an actual place within biblical theology, doesn't suddenly mean that she's cursing. Not to mention, curse words are a completely societal concept. That's not actually a thing in the Bible. Thou shalt not swear isn't one of the 10 commandments. And the definition of a swear is different across cultures. There's no way you can actually say that a swear is the same thing as a dirty word. This is just a standard use of adult language, no different than if I said the fuck word.
Not only that, there is a generation of Christians that will put half-naked people on stage in front of their church while they're worshiping and still look you in the face and claim that they're Christians.
Yes, there are also Christians who get naked when they have sex. Oh, scary. No, but the point you seem to be trying to make here is that there's something about the performance there that makes someone un-Christian, but that's not the case. A Christian is just someone who believes in the Christian God and accepts Jesus as their Lord and Savior. Unless you're going to try to argue that there's a series of works one must have to abide by in order to be a Christian, but then you wouldn't be a Baptist Christian because that's not what that brand of Christianity teaches. Jesus said in the Bible that works are dead, so why are you trying to judge Christians on their works? Moreover, I think judge not lest ye be judged also ends up coming into play here. Like, I'm not Christian, obviously. The branding on my channel has demonstrated that pretty well. But I was a Christian for a very long time. I was a Christian way longer than I've been an atheist. So what I'm seeing here is someone who absolutely wants to control the behavior of others who he disagrees with. And spoiler alert, I think that's gonna come up again later in the video.
There is a generation of Christians that lives such immoral, loose lives that even the world is taken back that these people claim to be Christians. And yet they still claim to be Christians.
What, did you have a little editing error there? Flash something on screen and then threw it away before anybody could actually notice what was there? Well, the thing that was flashed on screen was something about two people being too close for comfort, but I don't think that demonstrates your point at all. No wonder you took it away. That said, do you think that the rest of the outside world are the best judges of whether or not someone's a Christian, or do you think that them internally is the better judge of whether or not they're a Christian? I can't tell someone what their beliefs are, but they can tell me what their beliefs are. It's up to me whether or not I believe them, but I can't tell them that their beliefs are not sincerely held without some kind of evidence. Do you have any such evidence that their beliefs aren't sincerely held and thus they aren't truly Christian?
There is a generation of Christians that won't stand on any social issues of the day, especially abortion, and yet they still claim to be Christians.
Drawing huge millennial crowds, but it's still evangelical. So where do you stand on social issues that young people are particularly passionate about, like gay marriage, abortion? Like, how do you address those types of things?
So it's not a sin in your church to have an abortion?
That's the kind of conversation we would have, finding out your story, where you're from, what
Work
you believe.
through it, like talk
yeah,
about
I
things.
mean, God's the judge. People have to live to their own convictions, and I think if I have to tell you,
So, This is, again, like the straight answer thing. He took a stance on the issue of abortion. The issue is that it's a matter of personal choice. He's not going to try to intervene on that, because, like he rightfully said, he doesn't know what someone's personal story is. I don't know if someone's using abortion as a method of birth control because they don't like using condoms, or if the abortion would be otherwise life-saving, if they're in poverty, or if being forced to have the child of an abuser would lock them into a relationship that they have no way out of. These are all variables that I do not know where any individual is concerned, and neither do you. The correct stance to take on that is to say it's not your business, and if you're empathetic enough, then maybe offer assistance where you can. That is, in fact, a stance. It's just not one that you agree with, and I think that's the distinction.
There is a generation of Christians that will not stand against homosexuality, and yet they still claim to be Christians.
Are gay men and women welcome in the church?
Absolutely. We have a lot of gay men and women in our church, and I pray we always do.
It's not our place to tell anyone how they should live. That's their journey.
Every article I've read about you guys says he declined to discuss gay marriage.
Yeah, it's a misquote because I do discuss it, just not the way people want me to. When it comes to homosexuality, I refuse to let another human being or an immediate moment dictate how we approach it. Jesus was in the thick of an era where homosexuality, just like it is today, was wildly prevalent. And I'm still waiting for someone to show me the quote where Jesus addressed it on the record in front of people. You won't find it because he never did.
Which is a valid point, and I actually have some other videos on my channel that dig into this issue even deeper. When talking about homosexuality in the Bible where the New Testament is concerned, most of the time you end up finding writings from Paul, but Paul is referencing writings from back in Leviticus. His stance is informed by the older literature, but the literature in Leviticus doesn't necessarily mean homosexuality. The language that was used in Leviticus can mean homosexuality, but it can also mean not abusing a woman's bed. It can also be a passage against pedastry. The fact of the matter is, there are at least 6 different interpretations of Leviticus, and we do not know which one the original author intended. Jesus didn't apparently speak about homosexuality, and when Paul speaks about homosexuality, he is directly referencing those older scriptures, and all of us are fully divorced from the context of them, and to try to argue that you can put your thumb on any one meaning of Leviticus would be to pretend that you knew the author's thoughts. And unless you've got a time machine, you don't have that, but I noticed in your channel tags that you're a KJV-only Christian, so I can actually see where the confusion is. When you use a version of the Bible based on manuscripts, which they themselves are removed about 1,000 years from the events that they depict in their chapters, I can at least get why you have such a sloppy understanding of the Bible.
There is a generation of Christians, and they are the first ones in history, but they are actually accepted and adored by the LGBTQ crowd, and yet they still claim to be Christians.
Next guest has been compared to everyone from Adele to Amy Winehouse. Her new CD just debuted at #1. She's amazing. Here to perform Still Rolling Stones. Please welcome Lauren Daigle.
So, again, if the goal of Christianity is to convert people to its religion so that they can get into heaven and be with God, wouldn't appealing to people who otherwise have been ostracized by Christianity be the proper thing to do? Because you've got 2 options. You either have it's the proper thing to do to convert them to Christianity, or converting them is the improper thing to do, which would mean that the proper thing to do is let them burn in hell. But given what I've seen thus far, I think that you would probably argue that the proper thing to do would be for them to burn in hell. I don't actually have evidence of this, it's just a hunch that I'm going to go on based on what I've seen so far. But you remember how earlier I said that controlling other people would come up again? This is that. Because there's a third option. Them converting to Christianity, but fundamentally changing who they are so that they can better fit your Christian paradigm. Given that the first option, letting people into the church, isn't the one that you're going for, then the only options you have are conformity, specifically to your viewpoint of what Christianity is or should be, or eternal hellfire. And if physical violence or conformity are the only options you're willing to give anybody, those aren't choices. Those are ultimatums. It's a double bind that can be a very efficient tool for an abuser. Maybe, just maybe, you shouldn't use them.
There is a generation of Christians that claims that they love God and respect Him for who He is, yet use wildly irreverent terms when speaking about him, and yet they still claim to be Christians.
And at that point, it was my 8th year. And
So
so I
it's
was
time.
like, okay, Lord, I got you, boo. And so I just kind of went into a little season of rest. And
So, irreverence is showing a lack of respect for people or things that are generally taken very seriously. But here's the thing, within Christian literature, a relationship with God should be just that, right? A relationship. And if in your personal relationship with God, you, and God in this case, are comfortable with language like that, then just like in standard human interaction, there should be nothing wrong with that. Again, I am not a Christian, so I don't personally hold that this relationship is even a thing that I would be able to do. But if I did feel like I had a relationship with a God, I think that being able to use friendly terms that I use amongst other people that I love and care about would kind of be the norm. Just because you think you have to speak about God in terms of awe and inspiration, because elsewise he'll spank you just a little too hard and not in the fun way, doesn't mean that other people can have a completely different type of relationship with their perception of God.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time that Christians wake up and realize that Satan is not walking around with red horns and a pitchfork. Satan's wearing a leather jacket, and he's standing behind a pulpit. And it's also time that God's people realize there is a huge difference between Bible-believing Christianity and this Hillsong stuff, which is nothing more than a mixture of modernistic Protestant Pentecostalism, New Age religion, and charismatic apostasy.
You do realize that if they are religious, they can't be charismatic apostates, right? That actually can't factor into the mixture. They are, in fact, Bible-believing Christians. They hold the Bible as true and authoritative on matters of faith, but yeah, they are Pentecostal, which comes with a shit ton of other problems that we can get into in a different video. I didn't want to use this entire video standing their church. I still think that this is an open door for abuse. My issues come from when people take, well, issue with a particular brand of Christianity, but strawman it. If you want to say that they're not Bible-believing Christians, well, they do believe the Bible. They do hold it as an authority. Their interpretation may be different than yours, and I have no way of saying which one of yours is more accurate. I mean, I know that many of yours aren't. King James is a shitty translation, but as I don't know enough about their particular Bible beliefs, I can't speak any further past that. You say that Christians need to wake up, but really all you're showing is that different brands of Christianity exist. You've said that they're a bunch of pejorative terms without justifying any of those terms. You've shown examples of things that seem to only showcase that all you're trying to preserve is bigotry. And I'm gonna let you know right now, if the Christian faith wants to survive in the next few hundred years, that's probably something that needs to be dropped out of their belief system. One does not need to hate the gay to be a Christian.
But then again, who am I to judge?
Except that's what you did throughout the entire video, in such a tongue-in-cheek fashion. Oh, wait, no, that was sarcasm at the end there. Okay. At the end of the day, what this seems to be is that things around you are changing, and that makes you incredibly uncomfortable. People around you that you don't like are being accepted by society, and that's something that you're not a huge fan of. You want to hide behind your Christianity in order to justify that level of bigotry, but unfortunately for you and the rest of Christians like your ilk, people are starting to see through it. They're starting to see that in some cases the homophobia comes first, and then the Christianity is used as a shield to hold on to it. But anyways, that was the first video I've done on Pastor Spencer Miller. I might end up doing more on him, but as with every other type of video I've done on my channel, I'm not certain yet. That said, if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know in the comment section below. If you disagree with my conclusion, then you can also do that in the comment section. Please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, please hit the bell notification icon, and if you want to support what I do, then Patreon is always an option. There's a link in the description and at the end of every video. Speaking of videos, this one's about over. As always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.
Troubles are they or what they see? Look around you, then you may realize all the preachers are with their lies. And I might know about future, but then you still control the